Honestly, I am itching for some new ink. I mean, it's not the time to do that, but I really am. I need, this arm needs to be filled in, like right in here. It's like it's throbbing for some new ink. Hey y'all, it's Ashley Bookishram, and I am here today to do another currently reading slash what's on my radar. I forgot what I was calling these. My failed attempts at my failed attempt at my February TBR. So as you all know, like, I've stepped back from doing TBRs because of the fact that they have felt very structured, and I felt like I was making these videos and talking about these books that I was going to read and it never happened. So I changed up my format a little bit, and I decided to put an emphasis on books that I'm currently reading and books that are currently like in my zone of interest, things that I'm kind of thinking about possibly picking up. No guarantees, but these are things that as a mood reader, I'm kind of feeling like I would want to enjoy. So the first thing that we're going to talk about are the books that I'm currently reading, which is a lot. And I'm filming this early, so some of the books that I'm currently reading, I'm going to finish probably when this video goes up or right after this video goes up, because this video is being filmed before the end of January, trying to get my bulk filming in here and see if it actually works. So I'm pulling up my Goodreads account to see exactly what I'm currently reading, because it is so much stuff. It is so much stuff. Okay, so the first thing that we have on here is The Culmination of Everything by Christina C. Jones. So this is one that I'm currently listening to via Hoopla. This is a Black love romance, and it is about a heroine who gets stranded in this isolated town, and there is a hero who comes and rescues her, and they hate each other. They cannot stand each other at all, and their banter is absolutely hilarious. I slowed down this one because I was very focused on finishing up the McLean Brothers series. It's like, what are the name of those four amazing black men? But yes, I was hurrying up and trying to finish up that series because I just got sucked into that. But I'm going to switch back over and finish up The Culmination of Everything, which is Sugar Valley #1. I am also currently reading Her Little Secret by L. Wright. This is a part of another series that a group of black indie romance authors have gotten together to write. Women of Park Manor, I believe that's what it's called, and this is the first one in that series. I'm not that far into this one. It is about a sex therapist by the name of Peyton, and she lives in this building, and that's pretty much as far as I've gotten. Like, when she first goes to the building, she drops her box and it has like a vibrator in it, and stuff kind of goes from there. Okay, so other than that, I believe that our hero is going to come into play when she is attempting to start her new business. I'm guessing it's going to be a sex toy business because she's a sex therapist. I'm thinking that's, I could be wrong, but I think that's where it's going to go, and that's how we meet the hero. But like I said, I'm not too far into that one, so I'm just now kind of getting an idea about it. The next one that I am currently reading is Ace: What Asexuality Reveals About Desire, Society, and the Meaning of Sex, and this is by Angela Chen, and I am learning so much about this one. If you were in the live that Bree did with Sprints, and you will know exactly how much I've been taking away from this book, like so much. I'm gonna finish it today, but it literally is laying forth the groundwork for a lot of things that we as a society need to talk about in terms of asexuality and what it means and how our society has been structured on sex. I didn't even realize that how politicized sex was until I started reading this book. It's very interesting. I absolutely loved it. It is unraveling my world as I thought I knew myself, but it's great. But I will save my final thoughts for my wrap up. I am currently reading one of the good ones, and this is one that was released the first week of January. I'm only about 16 pages into this one. I'm doing a blended read of this. This is going to be, I think, a very, very interesting novel because it reimagines, or not reimagines, it brings forth that conversation of what do we mean when we say like one of the good ones for someone who has passed away. Like, what does it take for someone to be classified as one of the good ones to be immortalized or remembered in a certain way after their death? And I think that this is going to be probably a very, very interesting conversation, interesting relationship between the three sisters, which I didn't realize. I should have known from the cover, but because of the description, I was thinking it was only in perspective of two sisters, but it's actually in three. And so far I'm really interested because it seems like two of the sisters were closer to each other than the third sister, whose I think perspective we're going to get most of this book from. So I have heard people say that they really, really enjoyed this one. I just was reading so much and I let time slip away, but I'm hoping to finish this one in February. I am also reading Chlorine Sky, which is by Mahogany L. Brown. This was on my list of 45 plus anticipated BIPOC releases of 2021. And this really is just a look at a coming of age story and what it means to grow away or apart from your best friend. And this entire book is told in verse, and it is very, very short. It's only 175 pages, which is not long. So far, really, really good. I love her use of language, speaking of the author, and I think it's going to be a very interesting story to consider as me being like older and looking back on my experience of growing apart from certain friends and the situations and circumstances surrounding those breakups. Really, honestly, I don't know why we don't use the term, and it makes me think about the book that I just talked about, Ace, that it, you know, friendship breakups, they hurt sometimes just as bad, if not more, than a romantic, and there I go saying that friendships can't be romantic. So let me stop. But a friendship breakup can just be as bad as a breakup that you may have with a partner that you are interested in beyond a friendship, possibly. So check this out if you haven't heard of it. I'm also currently reading Battle of the Labyrinth by Rick Riordan. This is the fourth book in the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series. This is my second time reading this book. I am trying to catch up with the rest of the crew. The group that I'm reading this series with, they have already started The Lost Hero, which is the first book in the Percy Jackson and the Heroes of Olympus, and I was supposed to finish this book last year. Did I finish this book last year? Absolutely not. I did not finish this book last year, but I am anticipating finishing it either by the end of this month or at least at the beginning of next month. And the last one that I have on this list of currently reading is Last Call by Elon Green, a true story of love, lust, and murder in queer New York. This is a true crime book about a actual serial killer who was known as the Last Call Killer, and this is the story about that individual's victims and how their stories were glossed over because the murders were taking place during the height of the AIDS epidemic. It was not focused on because of the sexual identities of the victim, and then also the atmosphere of sky-high murder rates just made for a very toxic situation in which these individuals who were victims of the Last Call Killer did not get the attention and respect that they deserved. So this is a book that looks back at that situation as well as the victims of the Last Call Killer, and I'm very, very intrigued by this one. This one does not come out though until March of this year, but I'm true crime, baby, true crime. Okay, so now here's the big part, the on my radar books. Okay, so we all know that there are a lot of readathons taking place in February, which is absolutely great. It's Black History Month, heavy focus on reading books by Black authors. For me personally, I'm going to be heavily focusing on books by Black authors with Black characters, and I have already created a on my radar video, which should already be up by the time that this goes up, so I'll make sure that I link that in the cards below above if you're interested in what I'm reading for Blackathon. I am the nonfiction literature and contemporary host here on YouTube, so make sure you kind of like hop on my team. Shameless plug. whatever. Anyway, like I was saying, I do have a whole list of books that are on my radar. Some are rereads, some are books that I've never read before, but all of them just sound really, really interesting and really, really great, and I'm ready to dive into some of those. But I also have another pile of things that I am interested in reading this month. Some of them are specifically books that I am reading for review purposes, and then others are just ones that are on my radar that I just want to read because I want to read them. So we're going to go through the ones that I am going to be reading for review first, and the first one that is on this list is White Feminism: From the Suffragettes to Influencers and Who They Leave Behind. This one came out on the 5th of January, and this is by Koa Beck. This is about fourth wave feminism and how it preaches that it's for every woman, but at the end of the day, like we've learned in so many different books that have come before this one, especially in Hood Feminism by Mickey Kendall, that feminism does not actively at all times work for women who are black or brown or trans. And this looks specifically at how it continuously leaves those voices out. I started listening to this one on audio as well, kind of doing a little bit of a blended read. If I'm not mistaken, the author is actually white passing, and it starts off kind of with an interesting conversation about how someone says that she should just pretend to be white because it would be easier. And then she looks at how much the feminist movement is plagued by prejudice and elitism and classism, and how individuals that are black, brown, transgender, disabled, indigenous, completely left out of the narrative, and creating this one-size-fits-all perspective of feminism is never going to completely work. So this one is, yeah, because I'm reviewing this one, I'm definitely reading this one, but I'm interested in seeing how this one is going to differ from what I learned in Mickey Kendall's book. The next one that I have here is Yesterday's History by Kosoko Jackson, and this is one that has a time travel element to it. It's about our main character who gets a liver transplant and finds that he can actually slip back into time, and that's when the family of the donor lets him know that the donor actually had time traveling abilities. So then he has time traveling abilities, and I believe, yeah, he goes back to the 60s. He meets another guy, and there of course is an attraction between them, and each time that he goes, it seems like their attraction gets greater and greater. But of course this is the 1960s, so I'm sure there's going to be a lot of conversation about that, and also the fact of how do you manage something like that where you're not able to publicly really display your relationship. So this one comes out in February. The next one that I have here is While I Was Away by Waka T. Brown, and this one is about a young girl who is living in rural Kansas, and then her mother discovers that she can't understand basic Japanese. So she packs her up and ships her over to Japan in order for her to get acclimated to the language. And I think it's probably going to end up being a slight culture shock for her. And one of those situations in which immigrants or children of immigrants kind of feel a displacement. I hope I'm saying this right. Let me explain further. Because I haven't had the experience, but I think what we're going to get in this book in particular is that when she was at home, she was labeled as that Japanese girl, and she didn't really feel like she fit in America. And then when she gets to Japan, she gets called the dumb foreigner. So she's caught in between, I'm not American enough, I'm not Japanese enough, where exactly do I fit in? So this seems to be a coming of age middle grade book. I'm really interested in it. When I was asked if I would like to review it, I definitely was like, yeah, this seems like something that would be right up my alley. The next one that I have here is Red, White, and Whole by Rajani LaRocca, and this is another middle grade title about a young girl who is, once again, like the other book that I just showed you, is torn in between her experiences at home and her experiences maybe going to school. She's the only Indian American in her school, and her ama ends up getting, her mom ends up getting really sick with leukemia, and she just doesn't fit in. She doesn't know how to fix things. She wants to be a doctor, and she is adamant about believing that if she just gets things right, if she just becomes a perfect daughter, then she will be able to heal and fix her mom, which I feel like this one is going to be really sad. It's told in verse, so this is another one that's not going to take very long to read, but I just know, I just feel it in my soul that this one's going to break my heart. But I'm excited to read it. Next one that I have here is The Sea in Winter by Christine Day, the same author of I Can Make This Promise, which I read last year, and I found out that she was publishing another one this year, which I am excited to have. It was a really great middle grade read last year, written by an Indigenous author featuring Indigenous characters. So same thing here, but we have a main character in this one who is trying to come back from a knee injury, and she's a ballerina, and all of her friends are trying out for this prestigious dance school for the summer, and she is not going to get that same opportunity. And then when her family goes on a road trip, she starts to notice like how irritable she is and how angry she is at her family and her friends, and it's something that she just feels like she can't control. So I'm not far into this one either. I believe I am about 20 pages into this one, and I can't tell yet, but I wonder if this one is going to touch a little bit on mental health, which I have a feeling that it is, but I'll be interested in seeing if that's the direction that it goes in and how Christine Day handles it, especially in a character that's a little bit on the younger side. Okay. So now that we got all the books for review out the way, let's talk a little bit about some books that I have on my radar that I just want to read for fun. The first one that I have here is A Ruin of Shadows by L.D. Lewis. This is an indie SFF book that features Jinn and assassins, I think. Maybe? Yes. I was like, I feel like this is about assassins and a Jinn somewhere mixed in, but it's really short, and one that I am definitely looking forward to. I'm getting back into the SFF mood. I know that I've been reading a lot of contemporary literary fiction, nonfiction, etc., but I think I'm in the mood for fantasy, so this is one that I'm looking forward to reading. I still need to read Kindred by Octavia Butler. I was supposed to be following along with the slow read of Octavia E. Butler, but they are so far ahead of me. They are so far ahead of me. I did not keep up the way that I should have kept up, but maybe if I like stick with it, I can push myself to catch up. I'm hoping that I can, but this is one that I also have on my list of books that I want to get to possibly in the month of February. Next, I actually have two Nnedi Okorafor books because I read a Nnedi Okorafor book this month, and I just realized how much I want to get back into reading a little bit more SFF, and definitely was like, let me just pick up Nnedi Okorafor. So I have Binti, the complete trilogy here. So this is all three of the novellas plus an additional story. So I have read the first one. So I have the original first book of Binti, which I have read twice. I believe I've read this one twice. Yeah, I've read this one twice. So I low-key want to reread it again just because like I remember what happened, but for the sake of details and continuing with the rest of the stories in this, I almost want to reread it again. I mean, they're short. It's so short. I mean, this entire collection itself is just a little over 350 pages. So rereading the first one for the third time is not going to be a killer at all. But I am looking forward to actually moving on with the series instead of just keep saying that, oh, I've read Binti, I read Binti, I read Binti. Now I need to pick the rest of them. So the next one that I have on this list is one that I think is going to win the Patreon poll for the month of February. Can't tell yet. There's one other book that's kind of a contender, but I think this one is going to win, and it's Who Fears Death by Nnedi Okorafor. This is one that I really became intrigued by like earlier last year, but one that I became further intrigued by after I ended up reading Remote Control. So I think that these two, or at least the second one in this entire series. They may be connected somehow. We haven't figured it out yet. I haven't heard for sure if they're connected, but because of my interest in my enjoyment of remote control, I was like, I really want to pick up Who Fears Death, which I think may be linked to this one. So this one takes place in a post-apocalyptic Africa where main character has survived, I believe, rape, and is wandering around the desert hoping to die, and she gives birth to a baby girl who she names Who Fears Death. So I think that this one probably has some serious trigger warnings aligned to it, so I'm going to be mindful of that. I probably will look at some reviews just to make sure I know what I'm getting myself into, but lots of Nettie horror for this month. Okay, so I have 2 more nonfiction on my radar. The first one being Ida B. The Queen, The Extraordinary Life and Legacy of Ida B. Wells. So if you didn't know, Ida B. Wells was a suffragette as well as a anti-lynching crusader. So this is a nonfiction book about her life, and lots of just like pictures and stuff like that. I have something up my sleeve related to this book that I think I want to do with something else, but I'm thinking about it. It's still kind of fresh in my mind, so not completely there yet. And then I have Stamped from the Beginning by Ibram X. Kendi. This is not one that I anticipate finishing in the month of February, but this is one that I at least want to start in the month of February because I have been avoiding it for a very long time, and avoidance is just not the key anymore. I wish one day I'm going to completely understand that avoidance is not the way that things work. But this is, of course, a definitive history of racism or racist ideas in America. And it's a chunker, it's thick, it is a lot of history tied into this, but everyone needs to read this book, including me. So I think that I'm going to take this one slow. I think that I may end up doing a blended read of this one. My library does have the audiobook available for us to check out. So I think, yeah, I think a blended read is just going to be my best bet because there's so much history in this, and I'm going to be very interested in how much of this like I actually know already, because I was a history major in undergrad, and I really want to see just how much my institution, my higher ed institution, was lacking in teaching the complete history of America. Because this follows specifically 5 individuals: Cotton Mather, Thomas Jefferson, William Lloyd Garrison, W.E.B. Du Bois, and Angela Davis. And it looks at the history and ideas related to racism in the framework of those 5 historical figures. So we'll see. We'll see how much of this I get done. I have one book that I do really want to reread this month, and that's Slay by Brittany Morris. Brittany Morris has another book coming out this year called The Cost of Knowing, which I believe comes out in March. But I just want to reread Slay because this was such an important book to me when it came out in 2019, I believe, September 2019. And it was just, it was important. It was important for me in terms of visibility and seeing myself on page in a YA book. Not that it just hadn't, it's not that it hadn't happened before, but this one just had a different effect, and it's been a minute since I read it, as you can see. So I need to reread it. And I just lied, y'all. I said this was the only book that I was going to reread in February. Not true. Hold on. I'll show you another book I'm rereading in February. So in February, we also have A Reaper of Souls coming out by Rena Barron, which I was blessed to get an ARC of. So because A Reaper of Souls is coming out in February, I'm going to be doing a reread of Kingdom of Souls, which I'm excited to do a reread because the tabs, I like rereading. It's interesting when you reread after you've annotated a book, because then it's like you get to annotate your annotations type of situation, and it's really cool going back and seeing what you thought during your first read, like your instantaneous reactions. So I will be rereading this one in preparation for Reaper of Souls releasing, and I'm excited. I'm so excited. And of course, February is also Valentine's Day, but more importantly, February 13th is Black Love Day. So with that being said, I do have some black love romances that are on my radar. I'm not going to go through all of them because there are there are a lot. There are a whole lot, like a whole freaking lot. So, but anyway, in the comment box below, let me know what you plan on reading for the month of February, kind of just going with the flow. Like, what are you currently reading? I know when I did this last video, a lot of people were like, yeah, I'm low-key like a mood reader. I think a lot more of us are mood readers than what we think. So let me know what you're in the mood for in the month of February. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications. Interested in following me on social media, supporting the channel, all the links will be down in the description box, and I'll be back with another video soon.